Excellency the Vice President, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, His Lordship the Deputy Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Ministers, the Right Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Their Highness the Traditional Leaders, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, Honorable Members of the IALA, East African Legislative Assembly, members of the Diplomat Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Speaker, in fulfillment of the constitutional requirement under Article 101, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I'm here to deliver the State of the Nation Address 2019. Madam Speaker, since my last address, a number of well-known Ugandans and other Ugandans who are not so well-known have departed from this earth, some of whom are, of course, these are the well-known. The late Professor Apollo Nsibambi, the late Honorable Colonel Ibrahim Abiriga, the late Right Reverend Bamoze, the late Right Reverend Salimo, the late Assistant Superintendent of Police Mohammed Chirumira, the late Ambassador Julius Onen, more than 31 people who died when a party boat capsized on Lake Victoria, the 4 Kenyan pilgrims who were knocked by a hit-and-run car when coming to Uganda for Mother's Day, some Bududa people who lost lives in the mudslide just last night, I was told, and many others. Madam Speaker, I request that we all stand up and observe a moment of silence in memory of the departed persons. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Sit down. Before I forget, I would like the Minister of East Africa to get in touch with these families from Kenya whose people died when coming for the pilgrimage, so that we support them, support those families. Well, I don't govern South Sudan. You know, I am here in Uganda. You know, these Kenyans died here, died under our authority. You know, rationality is a requirement of Parliament. You must be rational. You can't be... I'm sure irrationality is not part of parliamentary procedure. Today is the 6th of June, 2019. The 6th of June, 1944 was the date on which Allies in the Second World War executed an amphibious landing in German-occupied France at Normandy beaches. Even now they are there celebrating that event. Her Majesty the Queen, President Trump, and the others, they are there. This was 3 months before I was born. The 6th of June, 1981, aged 36 years and leading the Popular Resistance Army, I departed from Matuga by car, passed through Buama Trading Center, and embarked into a boat at Katebo landing site to cross the more than 200 miles lake to Kenya, to proceed to Libya to look for the weapons of the struggle. Today, the 6th of June 2019, here we are on the occasion of the State of the Nation address. There is something interesting about the 6th of June. The NRM government remains committed to ensuring a secure and peaceful Uganda. This has come about by promoting and upholding patriotism, democracy, and good governance as core values for national socio-economic transformation. Significant focus has been placed on professionalizing and modernizing the Uganda People's Defense Forces and building the Uganda Police Force and their capabilities. Some months ago, killers, robbers, and rapists had intensified their activities. They were committing these crimes with impunity because the police had been infiltrated by criminals and people who had been compromised in some ways. The National Security Council reviewed that situation and came to some conclusions. I addressed a special sitting of Parliament on the 20th of June 2018, where I outlined the measures we had decided to take to cope with heightened crime. A number of those measures are being implemented. As I assured the country, that crime wave will be defeated. UPDF works with other security agencies to deter or curtail any acts of lawlessness. The recent peaceful holding of the Martyrs' Day, where an estimated 3 million people turned up, showed that the police and the UPDF already have good capacity. That event of Namugongo, for people who know something about security, is quite challenging because there's a large number of people coming, some walking on foot, and it is pre-publicized. Everybody knows that on those days, everybody knows that on those days there will be a big function. So therefore, terrorists of all type would want to do something, but our capacity is good, and for the last 33 years, nothing has ever happened at Namugongo. Between 1986 and 2015, the economy grew at an annual average rate of 6.9%, 6.92, while per capita income grew at an annual average rate of 3.6% over the same period. No European country, not even the United States, except West Germany, between 1950 and 1980, which was able to do 3.8%, has grown its per capita income at the same rate as Uganda over a period of 3 decades. Abagara kwetu gabetuge naye gano ono yebwino. This is the facts. I may repeat. No European country, not even the United States, except for West Germany, between 1950 and 1980, I'm not talking about today and yesterday, the whole period. In 1980, Germany grew by 3.8%. No other country in Europe has grown its per capita income at the same rate as Uganda over a period of 3 decades. Only East Asian tigers sustained per capita growth of 5.6% during their intense period of transformation between 1960 and 1990. The growth of the per capita income at such high rate was in spite of the high rates of population growth of 3.3% per annum. So the population was growing, but nevertheless the economy was growing much faster. And those are the figures. In order to put this issue in perspective, Ugandans should be informed that between 1951 and 1961, during the colonial system, GDP per capita grew by 0.14%. Between 1962 and 1970, it grew by 1.4%. Between 1971 and 1980, it declined by minus 2.9%. And between 1982 and 1985, it grew only by 0.8%. Between 1986 and 1995, it grew by 2.8%. And between 1996 and 2009, it grew by 3.6%. This is per capita, how each Ugandan is getting better off. The other figure which you normally hear is the figure of the whole economy growing. But this is per capita, per person. Well, you may want to hang yourself if you, it's an option, but these are the facts. These are the facts. All this, in spite of the strategic bottlenecks, such as shortage of electricity and high transport costs that were not yet addressed that time. Note that per capita income is GDP growth minus population growth. You remove the rate of growth of the population, then what you remain is GDP per capita. To put it in a global context, Between 1986 and 2015, Uganda was the 17th fastest growing economy in the whole world. It was the 4th in Africa. If we remove mineral-rich countries from the sample, because they were enjoying God's or nature's bounty, Uganda was 11th in the whole world and the 1st in Africa. This speech will be printed and every member will get a copy. And if you have got appetite to read it, it is here, and you can go and cross-check if you want. So what this means is that Uganda is about the only African country which has been having a high rate of growth without oil and without minerals. We have the minerals, we have the oil, but we have not yet used them. So they are not part of this equation. We have been using non-oil, non-mineral capacity. And in spite of many bottlenecks, in spite of things which we had not done, but here you are. This is written in good English. And those who can read will read. This achievement is more impressive because Uganda was in a civil war from 1986 to 2005. The country is surrounded by the Sudan to the north, which was in a civil war for the first 20 years of Uganda's growth, 1986 to 2005. To the west is Congo, DRC, which has been in civil war between 1996 to now. To the south is Rwanda, which was in a civil war between 1990 and 1994. To the east is Kenya, which was stagnating economically between 1986 and 2002. The size of the economy is now shillings 109.7 trillion. This is in the financial year 2018-2019. This is equivalent to US dollars 29.5 billion. The income per person is now equivalent to US dollars 800. Although this is below the level required to attain the middle income status, the renewed impetus of the economy and the large economic base being created will catapult the economy to prosperity within a short period in the future. By the purchasing power parity method of computing GDP, the economy now stands at US dollars 88.6 billion, which translates into US dollars 2,400 per capita. If this method was used, Uganda would already be a middle-income country. However, we are not going to use shortcuts. We shall use the export promotion and import substitution routes to storm across the medium-income barrier, not just the purchasing power route on account of our low cost of living advantage, but by the exchange route method. It is now within reach. There are two ways of calculating the GDP. Either you can use the foreign exchange method, which is the one we are mainly using, whereby you get the size of the economy in shillings and you divide by the exchange rate of that time. This is the figure I gave you. Or the other method is what we call the PPP method, purchasing power parity. method. By that method, the economy of Uganda is now much bigger because our cost of living our prices are not very high. So our shilling buys more goods than it would buy in other places. So if you use that method, actually Uganda would be already a middle-income country, but we don't want to use that one. We must solve the issue of exporting more so that the exchange rate we strengthen the shilling, and then we compute according to a stronger shilling. Uganda's economic growth and development outlook is positive, with the economy projected to grow at least 7% in the medium term, but could even be higher, given that we have now sorted out the key constraints to growth. The basis for this very positive outlook is the following. Number one, industrialization to promote exports using primarily agriculture as the base. This includes industrialization along the agricultural value chain, light manufacturing, and processing of our minerals into finished products, and further diversification of the manufacturing sector to increase exports. Because our problem now is that we are importing too much. We are importing things we should not be importing. And if you were to look at this room here, it is really a foreign market. What people are putting on, the suits, the shoes. Now, that's what we want to sort out. Two, increasing production and productivity in the agricultural sector by investing in quality inputs, extension services, storage facilities, access to markets by improving standards and quality of agro-processing. Government is also boosting the capital base of UDB to be able to lend to agriculture as well as small-scale industry. In addition, government is implementing targeted intervention in the coffee sector, for instance, the Coffee Roadmap 2020, the tea sector, and the fruit growing and processing sector, e.g. the Solid Fruit Factory, and the supporting agricultural zoning and our grower model around the nucleus farms. We are also working on stabilizing agriculture through irrigation. Three, the commencement of oil and gas production and work on the oil pipeline and the refinery will be starting soon. Four, strengthening local content so that Ugandans can be integrated into wealth creation as the economy expands, including improving local production and supply capacities. Five, improving efficiency in the execution of public investments to improve the returns on investment, especially in the areas of energy, transport, agriculture, tourism, water for consumption and production, and in education. Sixth, harnessing the benefits of regional integration through trade and strengthening intra-African trade. Seven, improving labor productivity through skills development tailored to labor market demand. Therefore, a firm foundation for industrialization and especially manufacturing has been laid. We now have the fruit industry in Teso and Ruwero, the dairy industry in Ankole, the vegetable oil industry, palm oil industry in Karangara, the tea industry in Toro and the Kigezi sub-regions, etc., etc. If you go area by area, people are beginning to listen to our message of specializing in some commercial activities in agriculture. In addition, Operation Wealth Creation has increased the supply and distribution of tea seedlings in the region. In the north, government has taken up a 32% stake in Atiak Sugar Factory, which has a nucleus farm and an outgrowers scheme, which will create jobs and promote agro-industrialization in the region. I want to salute the people of Atiak. The people of Atiak know something we call in our language, Donglobo. They know Donglobo. Donglobo is development. And they know also Lonyo. Some of the other people are not so clear about those issues. Government, we have got a huge tea estate, sugar estate coming up there in Atiak, developed by one of our people, one of our investors, Amina. And the people are growing we are helping them to grow sugar cane. Government is prioritizing investment in industrial parks to support industrialization and create jobs. There is also another industrial center which is coming up in a place called Lakang. Lakang is nearby. It is in a place called Lamogi. That one has delayed a bit because we had sought out some local obstacles, but we never failed. In the end, we have sorted them out. So we are actually going to have two big factories in Amuru, sugar factory, one in Lakang and the other one in Atiak. And then the area of Nwoya, if you go there, people are really waking up. Big farms are coming up. You will see things are moving. Government is prioritizing investment in industrial parks to support industrialization and create jobs. Notable progress has been made in Kapeka Industrial Park, where manufacturing of tiles and other products is already on. Kampala Industrial and Business Park, where construction and provision of various utilities is soon starting. Kabale and Mbali Industrial Parks, where work is ongoing, etc. So far, there are 284 new factories already in the industrial park at Namamve. 11 in Ruzira Industrial Park, 10 in Okwogera Industrial Estate, 8 in Jinja, and in Jinja Industrial and Business Park, 10 in Soroti Industrial and Business Park, 16 in Kasese Industrial and Business Park, and 42 in Mbarara SME Park. The total factories in Uganda are today 4,900. When we started UMA, Uganda Manufacturing Association, with the late Murwana, we had only 80 factories. But now we are talking of 4,900. I can organize conducted tours for those who are interested. Then you come with video, you video. It is quite entertaining. And it will cure the blood pressure of some of the people. Because some people give themselves blood pressure with hatred, you are angry all the time. You should consult somebody who is now going to be 75. Never have anger in your system. This This is medical, it's not opinion. I am giving you purely medical opinion. As regards international trade, our exports revenue of goods and services grew by 8.2% in 2018-2019, amounting to $7 billion. That is 3.8 billion being earned from goods, export of goods, 1.89 billion from services, and 1.3 billion from remittances of Ugandans abroad. However, the total import bill for goods and services is still higher, although the gap is narrowing. It is at now at 8.8 billion, creating a trade deficit of $1.86 billion. Under the 2020 coffee roadmap, which I launched a few years ago, the volume of coffee exports reached 4.5 million bags in the financial year 2017-2018, earning the country $492 million. The volume went up, but the price came down, but the volume is going up. We used to be at 2 million bags of coffee. We are now at 4.5 million bags. Light industrial goods exports fetched $382 million, while tourism revenues amounted to $1 billion in the same year. If we can increase production per hectare of coffee, as an example, from the current 0.67 tons per hectare to 2.2 tons per hectare like in Brazil and Vietnam, Uganda would be earning about $2 billion from unprocessed coffee alone, if we export it unprocessed. At 2.2 tons per hectare, Uganda would produce 21 million bags of green coffee. And if this coffee was roasted here, roasting alone, Uganda would fetch $6.7 billion from coffee alone. But if it was transformed into soluble instant coffee, would then generate $16.8 billion for the country. This is possible. So we are not only promoting growing more coffee and increasing yields per hectare, because our farmers are underusing their land, getting 0.67 of a ton from 1 hectare, when the Vietnamese and the Brazilians are getting 2.2 tons per hectare. This is not correct. And our conditions are much better in many cases. So it is a question of waking up our people and the technocrats to guide our people well. We just need to be better organized and focused on distribution of better seedlings, better harvesting methods, post-harvest handling methods, and storage. We are going to process much of this coffee. By processing 60,000 tons of coffee per year by one of our investors, Madam Enrica Pinetti's factory, this coffee only, the 60,000, will earn $333 million. And that investor is already on the ground in Namamve, and she's the same investor who is involved in the hospital, the other hospital in Ruboa. The people who don't wish things well in Africa are given not a complimentary name, suffering from Nyeko. The acceleration of the economic growth is partly due to the correct decision we took in 2006 of prioritizing roads and electricity, the details of which I will give later in this speech. Those who were in the parliament of 2006, I want to congratulate them because they listened to my advice. They are quite historical, those who were in the parliament in 2006. The few who are here would be very proud. Because when I travel on these brand new roads, you travel on a tarmac road from Oraba on the Sudan border, all the way to Kisoro. Or from Moroto, all the way to Bundubujo. It was the work of that parliament, because when I brought the proposal of putting more money on the roads and more money on power, they supported it. Whatever a man sows, that's what he reaps. That's what we say in the Bible. So this parliament, you should also be proud of something. And I will tell you what it is. Oh, that one is also there. But there are some other things which I will bring to you. Although full rationalization of the results of this prioritization have not been fully realized, especially in connection with lower transport costs and the cost of electricity. The mere awareness that there are better roads and more abundant electricity is already causing a flood of investments. Investments are really flooding into the economy. Our efforts to promote regional integration and inter-African trade are yielding the desired results. Uganda now exports more to Africa than the rest of the world, with 63% of export to Africa in financial year 2017-2018, compared to only 27% 10 years ago. Exports to Asia have increased to 18% now, compared to only 13% 10 years ago. Domestic revenue in the financial year 2017-2018 amounted to $15.5 trillion. This is about 15% of GDP. Next financial year, 2019-2020, we plan to collect Uganda shillings 19.6 trillion, equivalent to 16.1% of GDP. The government is implementing a plan to boost our domestic revenue collection to about 18% of GDP. This will narrow the gap between what we spend and what we collect in domestic revenue, and in the process reduce the need for government to borrow from the domestic market and also from outside. This will allow government to finance a larger share of its investments using our domestically generated resources. The high cost of capital remains because you see our ways of doing things are the guerrilla way, the chiekera way. That's how we work, step by step, not trying to deceive ourselves that we can solve all problems at the same time. We are now targeting good roads, and you are seeing this. We have been targeting more electricity, but also cheaper electricity. We are targeting cheaper transport costs by the railway. Now, that we then remain with the cost of money, cost of the interest rates of borrowing in the banks. So I would appeal to the leaders here to really know that things don't happen by miracle, they happen by action. What we do is what decides what happens. So that struggle to bring down the cost of electricity, the cost of transport, the good roads are good, but they cannot bring down transport costs very, very much, because road transport is more expensive than railway transport and water transport. So, in terms of building the economic base, it is electricity, abundant and cheap, at least for manufacturing. I don't mind about the nightclubs, those can pay more, but manufacturing. The transport costs, the railway. The internet is already much cheaper than it was. And then the transport costs, and now I'm talking about the cost of money, of borrowing. The high cost of capital remains a major challenge to the economy as a whole. To address this challenge, the government is capitalizing Uganda Development Bank. So far, we have capitalized UDB up to Uganda shillings 272 billion, of which 53 billion has been provided this financial year. Next year, 2019-2020, the government is providing an additional US $103 billion to bring the total to Uganda shillings 375 billion. On top of this, government guaranteed loans of US 15 million and US 5 million from African Development Bank and Exim Bank of India, respectively, for the SMEs, small medium enterprises. We should borrow less domestically because this increases interest rates and crowds out the private sector when government domestic borrowing is excessive. The cost of doing business is still high in Uganda. To address this challenge, the government will continue to prioritize infrastructure by investing in energy, transport, water, and ICT. The cost of electricity per unit used to be US $10.62. It is now US $7.9 US cents, 7.91 per unit. I intend to bring it down to US cents, 5 per kilowatt hour for manufacturing. The modernization of the railway system by building the standard gauge railway will bring down the cost of transport per 40-foot container from US dollars 3,456 by road from Mombasa to US dollars 1,800 per container using the standard gauge railway. Even by repairing the old meter gauge railway, the cost of transport goes down to US dollars 2016 from 3,400. So you save more than 1,400 if you use even the old railway per container of 40 feet, if you use the railway rather than using the road. Agriculture remains the main thrust of Uganda's economic growth. The sector contributes 25% to national GDP and employs over 70% of the population. In my zonal tours, I've been telling Ugandans that there are only 4 sectors for wealth and job creation. The 4 sectors are commercial agriculture, industries big or small, services such as hotels, transport, professional services, shops, and ICT, such as BPOs. In order to regionalize the delivery of water for agriculture across the country, government opened up regional mechanization centers in southwestern region at Boama and northeastern region at Agwata. Using acquired heavy earth-moving equipment, government constructed and rehabilitated valley tanks in the drought and cattle corridor districts countrywide. The number of valley tanks increased by 83 from 155 in December 2017 to 238 in December 2018, with a total holding capacity of 9,245,000 cubic meters of water, up from 8 million cubic meters of water. This has improved the number of farmers accessing and utilizing water for irrigation and for aquaculture and livestock. The irrigation schemes constructed or planned or repaired are the following: Doho 1 irrigation scheme, Mobuku irrigation scheme. Where they are is here, but talking to members of parliament, I assume they are more informed. Lamo, Agoro, Olwey, Doho 2, Mobuku 2, Wadelai, Tochi, Ngenge, Ruenga Aju, Atar, Sironko Achomai, Matanda, Pabo, Namalu, Labor, Ongom, Biso. All those are irrigation schemes either already implemented or being planned. On the side of dams, the big ones are Kodukul, Omatenga, Ongore, Nakiloro, Kailong, Kobebe, Arechet, Longilimit, Kawomeri, Kimira Njoga, that would be Nyankore. Kimira Njoga, Kagango, Mavira, Akwera, Achulawich, Alango, Lei, Kachinga, Maikaro. I don't know, Maikaro then, if it is Zimbabwe. To boost agriculture mechanization, 280 tractors were procured and distributed to farmer groups. The government intended to procure an additional 1,000 tractors in financial year 2019-2020. We can acquire more tractors if we get good people who can look after them, who can use them properly. And in my tour, I was discussing with the leaders. I have some ideas which I will put to the cabinet. Government has enhanced the production of key strategic commodities for exports and domestic value addition. Palm oil, an important substitution commodity. Oil palm production in Karangara has increased and is steadily improving farmers' incomes and livelihoods. In financial year 2016-2017, farmers harvested 24,000 metric tons, valued at 13.4 billion shillings. While in 2017-2018, farmers harvested 37,000 metric tons, valued at Uganda shillings 21.4 billion. That was a growth of 36%. On average, the 1,199 palm oil farmers with mature gardens earned Uganda shillings 1.9 billion each month in 2018, up from Uganda shillings 1.3 billion each month in the calendar year 2017. When I last went to Karangara, the people there told me that in our local language there, nti abamufuta gatala banatera okusenguka. That's what they told me. They said that the people who are selling paraffin will have to go away because they no longer have a market here. Because they have money, they are now able to have solar power, so they no longer need paraffin. I was told by the spokesman. So people are just shouting and wasting time. If you really care about your people, there are ways you can help them, wherever you are. You don't have to be in the government to help your people. In 1966, I hear people are going around wasting time. DP. DP without Museveni is not there. Because Museveni was the DP, was the real DP. Even UPC, I joined UPC briefly for 5 months. And I tried to help our elder, but his people were not helping him, so we had to do other things. Now, in 1966, when I was 21, and in DP, that's when I launched the efforts in our area there, Kiruhura. If you come there, you will find that people are no longer staying in grass-thatched houses. But that effort started when I was actually in the opposition. But I was able to work with even the UPC people. I went to Okwogera to see Mzee Babiha with some elders, and he supported us. So if you claim that you are this, but you don't care about the income of your people, you are nothing. I'm telling you. Because you don't have to wait to be in the government to help your people. I helped my people when I was in DP. And UPC was very dangerous. It's not like here where you... UPC was very dangerous. It's not like now when you can abuse, you can shout, you can put up your legs. So please, don't tell me that because you are not NRM, you can't help your people. Rubbish. You are useless. I'm telling you. And I'm telling you on good authority, because I was in opposition for actually most of the time. It is only recently when I've also been on this side. Some people. Because when I was doing much of the work, I was actually in the opposition. Building the NRA, building all the capacity, most of the capacity we built it when we were on the opposition. You are only building a disruption. But for me, I was building wealth for my people. And I can invite you, you see. So, like this Kalangara, the people of Kalangara have totally changed, and I want to thank those people who helped me with that project, like Mzee Sendaura, who was Minister of Finance at that time. Because it was a big struggle. I don't remember whom we were fighting. They were against it. I don't remember who was against. It was a struggle until we got it. So it is helping. Kalangara is totally changed. The other day when I went to the ferry from Masaka, we waited for our vehicles to go on the ferry. Then one of our local people said, "Kati wano waliwo jamu." You know how our people speak. Meaning that now Kalangara has got so many vehicles, it has got a traffic jam. So we have to wait for a long time because there are so many vehicles. And in Kalangara, they had no vehicles. They never saw vehicles. But it has totally changed now. Cotton, lint bales of cotton increased from 151,000 to 202,000 in 2018. As a result, the contribution of cotton to household incomes rose from Uganda shillings 136 billion to 188 billion, 2018. You know me, I don't support cotton for the smaller people. But the big ones like Moses Ali and others, and even me, I can join to grow cotton for the country. So I invite the big people to grow the cotton for the country. But for my small people, the ones of 4 acres, 1 acre, please, I don't want to hear about cotton. Because the cotton only makes money if you do it on a big scale. And that's why I want to go to Kasese and discuss with the farmers there, because they are not, nobody discusses with them seriously. I want to go and discuss with them whether they should continue with cotton or whether they should do, because cotton only makes money if you do it on a big scale. Like Moses is adding to wealth on wealth. He's already rich, but he's adding on and on. If you go to Ajumani. Because when we were in Ajumani, we calculated that after cost, in 1 acre, you may end up with 1.1 million shillings in a year. So if you have got only 2 acres, 1 acre is for food, you only have only 1 acre for money, how will you manage? But if you have got 10 acres, that's 11 million. It's not bad. Net, after you have removed cost. Then if it is 100 acres, that is 100 million. If it is 1,000 acres, actually you get 1 point something billion. You can get billion shillings from net, from cotton, but you need to do it on a big scale. And this is where the leaders are really letting down their people, not helping them to select enterprises which have got maximum returns. You just let the people just do this, try on their own. They are not able to decide properly because they are not, many of them are not educated. So cotton, I encourage it, but it should be grown by the medium and large scale. The other people concentrate on the crops which I am going around telling the people. I don't want to waste the time of the big people here because for you know what to do. When I'm down there with my smaller people, I spend a lot of time teaching them on what to do. Lint exports also rose from US dollars 42 million 2017 to $54 million 2018. However, we intend to convert all this cotton to fabric, weaving, earning more dollars and creating more jobs. Milk annual production increased from 2 billion liters in 2015 to 2.5 billion liters in 2018 and is projected to increase to 3.35 billion liters by the end of 2019. The value of marketed milk has increased by 15% from US dollars 716 million in 2015 to US dollars 850 million in 2018. The export earnings of milk and milk products now stand at US dollars 79 million per annum. This increase in milk products is in spite of still using the old method of free-range grazing, which is called kusetura. I'm launching a campaign to change this. We must go from free-range to zero grazing so that the planted pasture is not disturbed by the cattle trampling on it. With free range, a square mile supports 213 Friesian cattle and 320 Ankole cattle. With zero grazing, a square mile will support 1,280 Friesians and 6,000 Ankole cattle. So you can see how rich I am if I organize things a bit. Zero grazing and the selection of only high milkers is the only way to go. To improve production of quality beef, government has constructed a modern holding ground 5 square miles and an animal quarantine station of 4 square miles to fatten bulls. These bulls will be supplied to the modern export abattoir in Bombo. The fisheries subsector has, through implementation of fisheries management reforms, registered increase by 31% in Nile perch fish stocks, and the fishery is recovering on Lake Victoria. The support fisheries enforcement interventions has led to the opening of 4 factories, part of the 16 which had closed, bringing total to 12 factories now in operation. Because all the factories had closed. Because really, you know, when you put a musaraba on yourself, a cross, and you say, I want to be a leader, voluntarily, nobody has invited you, you just bring yourself. So I want to be a leader. Elect me, I want to be a leader. You are bringing yourself a problem. Because if you don't know what to do, God will, why did you take on what you cannot manage? If you don't know, learn. Try to learn. You see, for instance, like the fisheries sector. How could the fisheries sector die when there are leaders there? I quarreled with the elders, the Bataka. How could you allow people to kill your lake by bad fishing? For them, they had a good excuse. They said people who come to do bad fishing are very strong people who can't manage them. And I totally agree with them. The locals could not manage the killers of the lake. But how about the leaders? How about the elected leaders? How about why would they not stand up? Now, I had 2 soldiers because the lake was finished. The soldiers may make their own mistakes because they are not fisheries officers. For them, they were trained for something. Yes? Now, because the people who are supposed to do the work don't do it, they destroy the country. I mobilize them. They come. They may make some mistakes. But the original sin is by the leaders who don't do their work. The extension, Lamera, the extension workers, those are Lutich. They are Lutich. They are Bapakas. They are employees. They are Lutich. Is that how to call it? Yeah, they are Lutich. Those are Bapakas. The owners of the country are the people, and you are their leaders. So, if the Bapakasi, if the Lutich don't do things properly, the ones who can save the country are you. When I was leading my people in 1966, when I was a young boy, they were veterinary people. The experts, the Lutich, they were there, but they were not bothered. It was us, we young people, who came up because we were from the people. We were not employees, we were not Bapakas, we were not the Bible. You were in Namgongo the other day. But people go to these attendants, they don't pick the message. Jesus, 2,000 years ago, said the hired hand, the hired shepherd will not stand and defend the sheep when the wolf comes. He will run away. But the owner of the sheep will stand and fight and die to defend the sheep. This is 2,000 years ago. Jesus telling people that the really supporting the private sector, that the one who owns something is the one who cares more about it than the mere employee. So, Lamera, to wait for the Lutich, they can work anywhere. It would be good if they worked, but many of them don't care. It is you who need to care about your uncles, your aunt. Those people who are poor are not necessarily the uncles of this Lutich. They are your uncles. They are the ones who elected you, who sent you. You go and represent us. So these people who killed the lake, and me, I don't even eat fish. I don't eat fish. They say I'm still backward. Yes, but I had to defend the fish for my fish eaters. And my fish eaters are now very happy. But some of the people are saying this and that, criticizing the soldiers. Soldiers are not fisheries people. They may make mistakes. But what was the original mistake? It was the people who were supposed to look after the lake who did not look after it. So now you can see that factories have opened. 12 factories are now operating on Lake Victoria. These people have moved to Lake Okwogera. I was hearing some issues there. And Lake Albert, that one is a chaos there with the Congolese and all those. With Operation Wealth Creation, government has continued to distribute key planting, breeding, and stocking materials, including tea seedlings in Kigezi, Ankole, Rwenzori, Mubende, West Nile, and Bunyoro sub-zones, where over 21,000 acres have been supplied with materials. Citrus orange seedlings, establishing 109,000 acres for citrus. This is in the Teso area. Mango seedlings, supplying 146,000 acres. Cocoa seedlings, establishing 16,000 acres, among others. Government continued to enforce quarantines to curtail unconditional movement of animals, which has reduced the spread of diseases between regions of Uganda. Vaccine and acaricide trials in various disease control zones of the country have been conducted. As a response to the tick resistance to acaricides, government continues to carry out trials of 3 molecules, including vector-chlor, bantic, eprinometin, to deal with the resistant ticks in the country. The acaricide zoning strategy and implementation plan to manage movement of acaricides across zones after cleansing was rolled out in the 27 affected districts. The anti-tick vaccine and other measures are in progress. We are going to develop, our scientists are developing a vaccine to kill the ticks. We want the ticks to die. The cow, we want to, our scientists think they can develop a vaccine that will enable the cow to kill the tick. The tick has killed our cows for a long time. It is now time for the cows to kill the tick. That is like the emese, okulya kappa, the rat eating the cat. The government has successfully attracted the Sukuru factory in Tororo district. The phosphate fertilizer production plant is expected to produce 50,000 tons, which are projected to grow to 100,000 tons, as the demand continues to grow both locally and beyond our borders. This is in line with the government campaign to cut down on the importation of products that can be made in the country. A comprehensive update of the national soil suitability maps is in the process to help farming communities to understand exactly what kind of fertilizer is suitable for each farming region in Uganda. The bad practice of land fragmentation is equivalent to disabling the land. When I was talking with the councillors in the districts recently, in the zones, I gave them this imagery. We have had people with disability. A person is disabled by some problem. But for us, we say disability does not mean inability. But still, somebody who is disabled can no longer do all the things that he would have done when he was able. Now, this is the same with the land. When you fragment land, you disable it. Like we were talking about the 2 acres. With 2 acres, can you grow cotton? That's why we were saying with 2 acres, you can no longer profitably grow cotton. Let it be grown by somebody who has got more land. You do something else which can So therefore, we are now going also to create land with disability because of bad inheritance practices. The bad practice of land fragmentation is equivalent to disabling the land. Government continues to encourage families to desist from this retrogressive habit. The family land, which was 4 acres in one generation, becomes half an acre per family because it was shared by 8 children, mainly males, on the death of their parents. What the 4 acres can do, half an acre cannot do. Government instead strongly advises families to start family companies where inheritance should be by shares, amicable. I was in West Nile, the Lugbara area. They can no longer grow food. They are now importing food from Congo because the land is so fragmented that they can no longer grow food. And that Lugbara area is one of the most fertile parts of Uganda. That one, of course, has already happened in Kabare. Kabare, long ago, they can no longer produce food. They have to get food from other areas. So how can such things happen when a country has got leaders? I told you how I started fighting in my area, 1966, when I was 21. Because I was reading in the school system. I was reading the history of Europe, the history of this, and when I go back, I check with my people. But Europe is like this. How about us? And I was reading for instance, the enclosure system in UK, when there was this system of enclosing land. And when I go back, I look at my people, I look at my father, I say, my father, but in Europe, they did this. How about us here? Here, we have got leaders who don't help the people to know how to deal with the future. And you are just there, leaders. No, it's a good one, it's not a bad one. No, I didn't say you are dogs. Amashongonzyo, let me tell you what it means. Amashongonzyo is a wild fruit. So actually, it's a good word. Amashongonzyo is a wild fruit. But there are 2 types. There is the one which is sweet, and there is the one which is embide, which is like embide, like the sour type. So the people, those Majankwere say, the embide one, they say it is fruit for the dogs, but the dogs don't eat it. So they actually, they are just giving a dog which doesn't do. So what I was saying, you cannot be a leader who doesn't help his people. That's what I was saying. That's what the proverb says. Does that improve it? Okay, I withdraw it. But the point is that with the population, you must guide them. Because the big problem with our people is tradition. Many of them are still traditional, but they are living in the modern age. My father was a traditional person. He was born in 1916, we estimate, and he was living his traditional way until I went through the school system. And I started hearing about other parts of the world through studies. And when I would go back, I would say, but in Europe they are doing this. How about us here? That's how we were able to alert those people. If you come to Chirhura today, you will find that the land is not as fragmented as in other areas, because I campaigned it. You go there, you can come and make a tour. Because I campaigned land fragmentation. And even recently I was there, deepening the campaign during Easter. If you are not allergic to my writings, bring those documents of mine, my booklets. More. I'll give you a few to the leader of the opposition. If she's not allergic, I am sure she will benefit. With shares, you divide what comes from the land, but the land itself, or even the property, should not be fragmented. Many of the African leaders like to go to Europe. If you go to Europe, you ask them how they handle the question of land. In the UK, only the senior boy inherits land, only one. Yes, the senior boy. You get to that, the other one. In Germany, it is the same. In some of the states of the United States, because people are always going to Europe, what do you go to do there? You should go there to learn best practices. You call it benchmarking. What benchmarking are you doing now? If you go to benchmark, why don't you benchmark on how the Europeans solved the problem of inheritance? Why don't you benchmark? How can you allow your people to commit suicide by destroying the land on which they are living, and you are just there, and that's why I was attempting to quote the other proverb, which I have withdrawn. So in some of the states, in the United States, I think it is South Dakota or something like that, one of them, once a land is 25 acres, the law does not allow you to subdivide it. The law of that state does not allow you to subdivide that land. So how can we be here? We are leaders. And even the resource which God gave us is deteriorating, and we are just here. How can this be? Population is growing. Population, Lamera, me kwanwa, kwan to educate, kwanwa, kwan you. Ponyorwa. I want Ponyorwa Lamera. The population of UK in 1810 was only 10 million. But at that time there was a man called Alfred Malthus, Reverend Alfred Malthus, who was very worried because the population was already growing. And that's why he started saying you should sterilize women because they are producing too many children. There will be no food for them. But now, Lamera, the population of UK is now 70 million, and they are all much richer than they were in 1810 because they handled the issue of population increase vis-a-vis fixed land size. But here, none of that. None of that. People are talking about the North, the South Pole, the what? They are not talking about their own people. With shares, you divide what comes from the land, but the land itself or even the property should not be fragmented. The good news is that a new science of growing crops without soil is being developed. This is called hydroponics. In fact, recently some people came here, they said, we don't want soil. I said, why not? They said, soil is not good. Why? Because it brings diseases into the crops. So we don't need soil. What we need is just water. And this science is called hydroponics, the science of growing crops without soil. In fact, soil is seen as a spoiler because it harbors a lot of plant diseases. You only need water. What I have not grasped is whether all crops can be economically grown in this way. So we shall have to study that, but there is that possibility now. Government will provide post-harvest equipment to farmer groups at sub-county level in order to boost the quality of the produce on farm, and also avoid the increasing and harmful levels of aflatoxins. The government is already undertaking strategic programs to increase pasture production and will partner with the private sector for production of quality and sufficient quantities of animal and poultry feeds. More human and financial resources will be put in enforcement of quarantines in order to stop and control the movement of animals. This will reduce spread of diseases between the different regions of the country. Social transformation entails access to decent shelter by the population in both rural and urban settings, and land as a factor of production is a crucial resource for transformation. To save people from the cumbersome and time-wasting process of traveling to Kampala for land transactions, government has decentralized the Lands Ministry services. There are 21 ministry zonal offices in different districts within the country. This has greatly benefited the public by taking services closer to them. The ministry zonal offices, after all, offices offer all services previously provided only at the ministry headquarters. With the computerization of land records, forgeries and graft in land registration system will be reduced and eliminated. Problems of missing land records have been eliminated, and land transactions are more efficient and speedy, thus reducing the cost of doing business. The government took a strategic decision to prioritize the development of the energy infrastructure because it plays a crucial role as a major catalyst for socio-economic development. Over the last 1 year, a total of 206 megawatts was added to the power generation system. Of the new capacity, 183 megawatts was for Isimba hydropower project, commissioned on the 21st of March 2019. 23.6 megawatts was from the smaller projects. These smaller projects are Nyamwamba, 9.2 megawatts, commissioned August 2018, Nkusi, 9.6 megawatts, Waki, 4.8 megawatts. In total, 8 renewable energy projects with total capacity of 87.2 megawatts have been commissioned, while 9 projects with a total of 69 megawatts are still under construction. Karuma Hydropower Station, the project was 93% complete as at the end of March 2019. This project is scheduled to be completed by end of December 2019, and it will produce 600 megawatts. Agago Achua, it will produce 42 megawatts, and the plant will be commissioned in September 2019. Muzizi hydropower plant, 48 megawatts. This project is expected to commence in the last quarter of 2019. Nyagak 3, 6.6 megawatts. This project commenced in May 2019 under a public-private partnership framework. When all these projects are completed, our generation capacity will stand at 2,300 megawatts. This is a mere endozo. Endozo is appetizer. You know, in Ntungamo, when the women were selling the local alcohol, and if somebody did not have money, you go from Sarah to Sarah, Ndoza, let me taste. Then you go testing, and by the time you have finished all the Sarah, so this 2,300 megawatts, a big distance from, you know, when NRM came into government, that power station at Yinya was producing 60 megawatts, 60. But here we are, 2,300 megawatts. And I'm saying this is merely endozo, appetizer. How would they say it in our language? Lamera. How would they say it in our language? Abil. Tia abil keken. Abil keken. You know, you know, this actually used to backbite me. Whenever I would go there, they call me all sorts of names. Upok, that I'm. Upoko, that I'm. But these days they cannot dare because everything they say. This is merely endozo, abil keken. In the medium term, we are aiming at 17,000 megawatts. Government has completed pre-feasibility studies for a 2,000 megawatt nuclear power project following the identification of 8 potential sites for nuclear power plants in the districts of Buyende, Chiruhura, Lamo, Mubende, and Nakasongora. We must think of the nuclear power because all these dams which we are going to build on the Nile, Nyaga, this one, Ayago, Uhuru, Kiba, Oryang, they may end up with about 10,000 megawatts. But if you look at a smaller country like Norway, only 5 million people, they use 26,000 megawatts. Okay, some of it is used for warming in the winter and so on. But even if you deduct that, 10,000 megawatts, which is what we shall get from the water, is not enough. So we are already planning, we are already training our people. There are quite a number of nuclear scientists who have been trained in the Ministry of Energy. And at the right time, once we have used the water sources, the hydro, Ayago, Oryang, Kiba, Uhuru, and the others, Nshungezi, Mutano, we shall have now to go to nuclear, because fortunately we have got a lot of uranium, and a Canadian company came here, they wanted to export it. I said, no, I'm not a fool. I cannot give you firewood when I don't have fire in my own house. Let me keep it here. I need it for my own cooking. The use of various applications of atomic energy in Uganda continues to rise in the medical. Nuclear energy is also for medical. It's not just for energy. It is also for medical. Treatment of cancer, for industrial, that's energy, for agriculture, like sterilization of tsetse flies, sterilizing these insects. To this effect, government has established a national register of radiation sources and facilities. Currently, 850 radiation sources in 419 facilities using nuclear technology in their operations has been registered and put under regulatory controls and supervision. The expansion of the transmission and distribution network is in progress. The other day I was in Gulu and also in Arua. But Gulu is more interesting because now there is more electricity. Bujagari is producing more electricity. And even these small dams are producing more electricity. But people are still getting blackouts. In Ugulu. So the question was why? The answer was, yes, there's more electricity at source, but the wires bringing the electricity here are still old, are still the old ones, with wooden poles, with all sorts of problems. So therefore, we need a program of transmission, not just generation, but transmission. The system power demand has grown by 10% from 605 megawatts at the start of financial year 2018 to the current 670 megawatts. With the new generation plants and transmission lines and substations constructed to supply new areas, the system will evacuate and deliver more power to consumers. During the financial year 2018-2019, government commissioned the following electricity transmission line projects, totaling 630 kilometers. This brings the total length of high voltage grid coverage to 2,258 kilometers. The projects completed are 132 kV Mbarara Nkenda, 160 kilometers, 220 kV Kawanda Masaka, 137 kilometers, 220 kV Mbarara Mirama Hill, 65 kilometers, 220 kV Nkenda Fort Portal Hoima, 226 kilometers, upgrade of Queensway, 132 kV, stroke 33 kV, 132 kV Isimba Bujagari, 42 kilometers. Industrial parks works have been completed for Namamve, Ruzira, Mukono, and Iganga. Significant progress has also been registered on other ongoing projects in various parts of the country as follows. Karuma Kawanda, 400 kV, 264 kilometers. Karuma Lira, 132 kV, 75 kilometers. Karuma Oruyo, 400 kV, 60 kilometers. Industrial parks, substations like Namamve South, Namanve 132 kV transmission line, 10 kilometers. Namanve Ruzira 132 kV transmission. Narubare Namanve 132 kV. Mukono Tiof 5 kilometers. Narubare Tororo 132 kV line. Tembo Steel Limited Tiof 12 kilometers. 132 kV Mutundu Entebbe 35 kilometers. 132 Opuyo Moroto transmission line 168 kilometers. This one of Moroto, these civil servants of ours, they have their own way. They will teach, which I was warning my sister against. You know, when we told them to take power to Karamoja, they took it. But nobody told me that the power they were taking was a weaker current. So for me, I was very proud to say, now there's electricity in Moroto. I was really very proud. There's electricity in Moroto. Then Indians came from Kenya because there is a big deposit of limestone. And they said, we want to build cement factories in Moroto. I said, yes. When we got to find out, they said the power, I said, there's electricity there. Only to find that the electricity which is there is a weak type, that it is 33 kV. It cannot, it is for cooling beer. Oh, I was really angry. So it should be, why would they not tell me that we have a phase to, you know, I didn't know. So then we started now afresh. Now that we knew what to do, we had to start afresh to take now the bigger current, the one that they took. This is the one they are talking about here. Once it arrives, Karamoja is going to become a big industrial center. Because there is cement there is marble, there are other minerals like gold, you know. So, you leaders, if you want to develop your areas, don't depend on the Lutich. They are not bothered, they're just there. And I think they got damaged during the colonial system. Then during all these governments, no patriotism, no linkage with the people. But whatever I did in my area, I was linked with the people. I was representing, struggling for my father to become a modern person. And the people around him, the villagers. So now, Opuyo Moroto, finally, they are going to get now the 132 kV, which I assumed had gone the other time when I was calling investors to come to Karamoja, when there was not enough power there. Opuyo substation upgrade, works are ongoing at 40%. Construction of Kawanda Kapeka, 132 kV. 132 kV Lira, Guru, Nebi, Arua transmission line. This is the one which will solve the problem of West Nile. But recently we took their diesel generators. They are helping, but the real solution is this one here. The procurement of contractors is ongoing for the following lines: 132 kV Mirama Kaware transmission, 80 kilometers. Because we have got a big iron ore deposit in Kaware and want to build a steel industry there. So we need this power there. 400 kV Masaka Mbarara, Guru Agago, 132 kV overhead transmission line, and so on. Completion of the projects above will make additional 1,300 kilometers of transmission lines, bringing the total power grid covering to over 3,550 kilometers of high voltage power lines from the current 2,258. The primary substation will increase from the current 25 to 42. This will enable delivery of power to the existing and newly identified load centers. Government rural electrification program focus has mainly been on grid extension projects and project prioritization criteria during putting into consideration other factors of social equity and equitable regional distribution. Government has consequently implemented over 10,000 kilometers of medium voltage power lines and approximately 9,000 kilometers of low voltage distribution power lines. This has translated into the connections of over 1.3 million customers onto the national grid and the increment of the rural electrification access rate from 1% in 2001 to 13% in 2019. This means that a total of 7.8 million Ugandans are now linked to grid power, to the main line. Additionally, another 500 customers are connected to power off grid, like the solar. There is a young American lady who is developing solar power in Soroti area there. Now that one is called off grid. That one is helping 3 million people to access power off grid. So on grid, 7.8 million, off grid, 3 million, that is about 11 million people. They now have electricity, either off grid or off grid. That would be like about 25%, because the population is 41 million. With nearly all the district headquarters supplied with electricity, the agenda is now to connect all the sub-counties by 2022. Government is promoting use of renewable energy technologies in the country that include solar system for lighting rural homes and for the national grid. The country now has 40 megawatts of solar grid connected systems. With minerals, in line with the new mineral policy and mining legislation, government developed a mechanism for biometrically registering all artisanal and small-scale miners in the country. In this regard, biometric registration for small artisans in Uganda commenced in January 2019. The value of minerals produced was worth Uganda shillings 158 billion, and revenue amounting to Uganda shillings 16.7 billion was generated as non-tax revenue. The investor, Guangzhou Dongsong Energy Group Company, installed a phosphate processing plant in Tororo and is already developing the Sukuru phosphate resource into phosphates. They are also going to produce steel, glass, cement, and brick products. Again, on the side of power, the ones which would be commissioned in the near future, the power stations, there is Karuma, that one I have already talked about, Waki, there is also Sindila, Ndugutu, Nyamugasani 1, 15 megawatts, Nyamugasani 2, 5 megawatts, Chikagate, 16 megawatts. Then you have Karuma Isimba hydropower stations, you have Muzizi, and so on. One of the most dynamic ways to expand an economy is for the government to invest in the construction of roads airports, schools, hospitals, railways, government offices, waterworks, and power dams, using labor-intensive technology to absorb some of the unemployed youth. Okay. Financing infrastructure development is a tested method to increase employment, accelerate growth, increase incomes, and increase savings. The key results under the roads on both the national, district, urban, and community access roads network are summarized below. Oh, there are so many roads here. If I read them, they will kill you. Mukono chetu mekatosi nyenga, Oruyo Guru, Bulima Kaboya, Aksi Moroto, Kanon Sembabure, Villa Maria, Kashenyi Mitoma. This one is of Otafire, the one who wanted Taman. Nansana Busunju, Fort Portal Chenjojo, the Nairo Bridge, Nakarasi and Kabongo bridges, and so on, so many roads here. Kampala flyover, Rukunjiri Chihi, Shashaka Nungu, Masaka Bukakata, Parisaka Monkori, upgrading of Kapchora Swamp, yeah, so you read all of this here. Maybe here what I could read is mention rehabilitation works on Entebbe International Airport. That is all in the works. Revival of the national airline. The two Bombardier CRJ 900s were received on the 23rd of April 2019. Government revived the national carrier, which had stopped operations many years ago. Commercial operations are expected to commence in July 2019. The other two Bombardier CRJ 900s are expected in July and September. And recruitment of key staff for the national airline is completed. In the transport sector, we moved to solve the issue of air transport. Ugandans like traveling. Oh, Banang. They like traveling. Each year, they were donating US dollars 450 million to other countries through foreign travel. Besides, there was a lot of inconvenience to traveling Ugandans by not having direct flights and even being charged discriminatively air fares. Since banks were wasting our time, we paid cash. You know, some of these banks are not serious. You know, there was one bank that, I said, watch our. We have money. It's just that. Two aircrafts, Bombardiers, are already here, and another two will come in the month of July and September, as I have said. These will be for regional travels. We shall straight away go for intercontinental flights to a few high-volume destinations of travelers to and from Uganda, and we are acquiring 2 Airbuses for that purpose. Those will come in December 2020, and the other one will come in January 2021. That will be just before the... Some of the people should know the right address, and then you... The standard gauge railway, government continues to fast-track the development of the standard gauge railway with the expectation to improve the quality of transport systems and provide a globally competitive quality service. This standard gauge railway took a bit of time because in Africa and in Uganda, there are a lot of flies. And whenever there's some little food, flies come all over the place. But you know, I've got so we really had to struggle because so many people wanting to distort. But now we have got a good formula, a good package, and we shall conclude so that we start building the standard gauge railway. When we sign, then we will see what we would have signed. But as we are waiting, we have already acquired 93.9 acres of land for the right of way, and 376 project affected persons were compensated. The Uganda Railways Corporation reinstated freight services across Lake Victoria and passenger train services in the Nama and the Kampala passenger line. This is the old line. The old line also we are repairing it. The old line. Averages of 18,000 metric tons of cargo per month and 2,000 passengers per day were being moved using the freight and passenger train services respectively. Resettlement action plan for the rehabilitation of Tororo-Gulu railway line was approved, and procurement of a contractor for rehabilitation works is in final stages. Rehabilitation works are planned to commence during the first quarter of financial year 2019-20. We need to repair that line to Pakwach, and also because the standard gauge, when we start building it, it will take some time, maybe 2 years or 3. So what shall be happening? We want to start using the old line because it is cheaper than the road transport. And that's why we want to revive it. 170 water vessels were this is marine safety. 170 water vehicles were inspected, of which 131 inland vessels were approved and licensed to provide transport services mainly on lakes Victoria, Kyoga, and Albert. Also, 12 locations for the establishment of search and rescue facilities have been identified on Lake Victoria, Kyoga, and Albert. 400 kilometers equivalent of roads will be upgraded to bitumen standard. 332 kilometers equivalent to rehabilitated, reconstructed, and 58 bridges constructed. Again, these are the roads. You will read them. There are so many of them here. Mpiji, Kanoni, Kabrasoke, Ruero. These are the new ones, like Ruero, Tarangwa, Muyembe na Kapiripirit, Ruenkunyu, which my people in the north cannot pronounce. They say Ruenkunye. It is Ruenkunyu. Ruenkunyu, I came to learn in Runyoro, They are called enkunguru in Runyankore. You get something which is like a swamp, but with small anthills, many small anthills. They are called enkunguru in Runyankore, but apparently in Unyono they are called enkunyu. So this is Ruenkunyu. Ruenkunyu, Apach, Achoribur. This road was going to cause me some problems with my Langi people. And they were saying that I'm paying more attention to the Acholi side and I've forgotten this side. But very soon, everybody will be laughing. Ruenkunyu, Apach, Achoribur, 191 kilometers. These are long roads, 191 kilometers. Busegampigi, want to make this Busegampigi an expressway with a number of Najanankumbi, Busabara, Munyonyo. There are some roads there which are dusty in that town, some town area. Chira, Matuga. Nakaseke single road. Atiak Laropi, Moroto Loktanyara. Then the oil roads, Karugutu, Ntoroko. Don't worry, you're about to survive my speech. But the other man is not representing his people, so I don't know. So the oil roads, Karugutu, Ntoroko, and Kaboya, Buhuka, Masindi Biso, Hohwa, Nyarwongwa, Karusheshe, Butore, and Kabari Kizaramfumbi, Rusari Rankonge, and then there are also these town roads. There's a project called Dukar or Duchar or whatever. It is a district something something. And we are doing a number of roads in Butareja, Buyende, Ruero, Kamuli, Mayuge, Serere, Chenkwanzi, Buhweju, Dokolo, Hoima, Kapchorwa, Moroto, Kasese, Arua, Ajumani, Sironko, Bulamburi, Rubanda, Kayunga, Mukono, Kariro, and Rakai. The other man never comes to meetings, so that Rutamaguzi Fero. Ngenda kulopa ono tajja mutyu. Ngenda kumulopa. Upgrade selected urban roads in Gulu. If you go to Gulu now, the area has changed. Now you see Lamera claiming a baby who is. I don't want to fight with the Lamera over the child, like the other women whom Solomon had sought out. Because my sister, she said the baby is hers. But from what I heard, the baby belonged to somebody else. Okay, we share. No, we share by bringing up the baby together. So the roads in Gulu, Mitiana Municipal Council, Liantonde, Kabalore, Kapchorwa, and so on. This urban road program will continue. It is a good one, really. It makes the towns look smart. On the side of tourism, tourism has increasingly become important to Uganda's economy. It is a driving force in propelling economic growth and continues to be the leading foreign exchange earner for Uganda, generating US dollars 1.5 billion foreign exchange earnings in 2017 compared to 1.37 billion in 2016. In 2018, the sector registered increased performance as reflected in the visits to Uganda's national parks and other sites such as Uganda Wildlife Education Center and the source of the Nile. Visitors to national parks increased by 39,000 from 285,000 to 325,000 in 2018. Although the proportion of leisure visitors to total visitor arrivals is still relatively small, it increased from 18% in 2016 to 20% in 2017. And tourist arrivals in Uganda have steadily increased from 850,000 2008 to over 1.4 million arrivals in 2017. The direct contribution of tourism to GDP in 2017 was Uganda shillings 2.6 trillion, which is 2.9% of GDP, while the total contribution, including wider effects from investment, the supply chain, and induced income impacts, was Uganda shillings 6.8 trillion. That is 7.3% of GDP, up from 6 trillion in 2016. In terms of contribution to employment in the economy, tourism generated 229,000 jobs directly in 2017. This is 2.4% of total employment. This includes employment by hotels, travel agents, airlines, and other passenger transportation services. The overall goal for the government is to attract 4 million tourist arrivals and increase the contribution of tourism to GDP from shillings 7.3 trillion to shillings 14.6 trillion at the end of the year 2020. To achieve this goal, the following has been done and will be pursued further. Boundary management and surveillance has been enhanced. Tourism infrastructure and products are essential in improving visitor experience and hence have huge influence on length of visitor stay and expenditure. During financial year 2018-19, a total of 1,100 kilometers of trail network and 90 bridges were maintained and 67 kilometers of trails opened in the protected areas. Government will continue to focus on human-wildlife conflict. Whenever I go to Nwoya and Rubirizi, people talk of the elephants, but the wildlife people are now building that electric fence to keep the animals away. Community engagements, resource conservation, research and ecological monitoring, and the general management of Uganda's 10 national parks and 12 wildlife reserves. Maintenance of museums and cultural heritage sites and conservation of artifacts will be prioritized. Government plans to promote Uganda's tourist attractions and reach out to more domestic and potential international tourists through participation in international tourism marketing exhibitions and regional marketing events to consolidate the gains so far realized in promoting Destination Uganda. Hire 7 marketing destination representation firms to aggressively promote Destination Uganda in the international, African, and domestic markets. C, design and construct the Equator Monument in Queen Elizabeth National Park, complete and furnish the Visitor Information Center at Sheraton. The tempo of Uganda's development is, however, interfered with by the action of corrupt public servants and political actors. That is why corruption is now public enemy number one. Hence, the government has put in place a number of strategies to eliminate corruption and promote the principle of zero tolerance to corruption. These strategies are intended to create an even more conducive environment for good governance and the rule of law to flourish in Uganda. Government has provided more funding to the Inspectorate of Government to increase their capacity to verify the leader's declaration. And here I heard what the speaker was saying. The speaker said something. Omanye ebimubiswaza twagala kubyogerera wano ng'akantu kayogedde akantu ako naye ekirungi bali abalala tebakategedde. We shall discuss those when we are by. But some of these people don't come. You come as observers. When I call NRM caucus, you come as observers so that you don't miss some of these magazines. Or I can speak a kayogeda onange na nkawuliddeko. Sagala kwogera mu luzungu bannange. Sitaki kuongea hiyo maneno kwa kizungu. Wale wazungu watafikiri tuko watu wa aina gani. Wache baki kwa lugha za hapa rafu. Government has provided more funding to the Inspectorate of Government to increase their capacity to verify the leaders' declarations. The verification exercise will be increased further to crack down on public officers who have illicitly acquired wealth at the expense of effective service delivery to the citizens. Prevention of corruption has been enhanced by increasing citizen participation in the monitoring of government programs and encouraging citizens to report cases related to abuse of public office. In this regard, the government implemented the Transparency, Accountability, and Anti-Corruption component in NUSAF 2, Northern Uganda Action Fund, by engaging citizens in monitoring government programs. A new unit was created headed by Lieutenant Colonel Edith Nakarema. There is a 24 hours call center where people can report bribery cases, embezzlement, land evictions, crime, etc. The unit then contacts the police and the IGG so that they handle the cases. On the side of human capital, I would like to comment on education and health. Since the elections in 2016, a total of 256 new classrooms for government primary schools have been added. This brings the total number of classrooms in permanent materials for government primary schools to 102,557. It really gives me a lot of pleasure because, you know, when you have been around for a long time, you really enjoy some of these things. Because when we started, the government primary school classrooms were in permanent materials were 28,000. Now, we are talking of 102,000 classrooms, 102,557. These are the government primary school classrooms with permanent materials. The government primary schools are now 12,437 in total. Out of the 9,000, the Ugandans really like power. They have created so many parishes. The parishes were only 5,000. Now they are 9,000. Can you imagine? Out of 9,096 old parishes in Uganda, there is at least one primary school in 6,167 parishes. The only parishes without government primary schools are 1,100 out of the 9,000. The total enrollment of pupils in government primary schools is 7,107,000 and something. The enrollment of pupils in private schools is 1,733,000. The total enrollment, therefore, in primary schools, in government and private, is 8.8 million children. In the government primary schools, the teacher-pupils ratio is 1 teacher for 43 pupils. You go, you have got vehicles, you have got vehicles, you go and check. You have got vehicles, go and check. That's why you are given oversight role. The ministry have told me this. You go and check. You don't have to quarrel, you go and confirm. Since 2016, a total of 48 new classrooms in permanent materials have been added to the stock of classrooms for the government secondary schools. The total number of classrooms for government secondary schools is now 12,696. There are 1,194 government secondary schools with an enrollment of 679,000 students. The private schools are more. You see the wisdom of NRM. We opened, because the Wanyankole say, when you make alarm for food, you make a smaller one. So that many people don't hear and come and overwhelm the food. But when you make alarm for war, you make a big one. Now some people think that, so we made a big alarm and the private sector came. So the private sector have opened more schools than the government. The private secondary schools are 8,269 with an enrollment of 778,000. Actually, they have got more students. Fine. Those Wanyankole viewers say, wisdom can defeat strength. So we are wise, and we said, let's open. Because educating, struggling with the ignorance is a war. So anybody who has got capacity, open. Open a secondary school, and there are many rich people in Uganda. You see them when you go to Kampala Road. You know, our Uganda people say Syria omulabira ku mubiri. The one who says he doesn't eat, you see him from his stomach. So the rich people in Uganda, you can see them when you stand on Kampala Road. You see how fat they are. Now, if they are so fat, why do you have to struggle with the problem of education alone? So we opened. In the colonial times, those who are old enough, there was only one private secondary school. It was called Agri Memorial. It was only one. But now you hear of 8,269 with an enrollment of 778,000 students. And these are from you people, because you have something in the pocket. So you go. Then for us, we remain with our poor people, they remain in our schools. No, we shall check on how they are passing. Our 1,100 schools of the poor, how many students are passing in with good grades? You can check. The records are there. Out of the total of 1,167 old sub-counties, a total of 856 sub-counties have at least one secondary school. The sub-counties without a secondary school, government secondary school. The sub-counties without a government secondary school, each are 311. The total enrollment of students in government and private secondary schools is now 1.45 million. There are 99 government technical and vocational schools with a total enrollment of 70,000 students. The universities in Uganda are today 50, 11 of them being public universities. The total enrollment in universities is 186,000, 96,000 in public universities and 90,000 in private ones. In public universities, we have been rationalizing courses and also emphasizing science subjects, mathematics, accountancy and auditing, quantitative economics and management. The school, tertiary and university systems must create wealth and job creators, not just clerical job seekers. The total public service jobs are 470,000. These do not mean much for a population of 41 million people, that moreover will be 81 million people by 2040. It is the private sector in the form of the four sectors which I talked about, commercial, agriculture, industry, service, and ICT, that will create jobs and wealth. Already, the strategic bottlenecks still around notwithstanding, industry is employing 700,000 people, services 1.3 million people, and ICT 170,000 people. So you can see that already the non-agricultural sectors are employing 2 million Ugandans. And this is very, very encouraging, because when you are employing one person, remember he has got 5 people at home, his family. On the issue of health, there is a total of 19 referral hospitals, including Mulago, Mulago is trying to be a super specialized hospital. With some partners, we are building super specialized hospitals in Ruboa, and another one by His Highness the Aga Khan. The aim of this is to stop the hemorrhage of money to the outside. Each year, Uganda has been losing US dollars 187 million to the outside, especially India, for medical reasons. However, health is not in treatment, but in prevention. The ways of prevention are well known and cost effective. They are immunization, hygiene, nutrition, behavior change, lifestyle discipline, safe water, and vector control. Vector control, mosquitoes and all that. If you address all those aspects, 80% of the sicknesses will be eliminated. By immunizing against the 13 diseases, we have eliminated polio, measles, etc. By killing the mosquitoes with indoor spraying, killing the tsetse flies, we eliminated malaria and sleeping sickness. By just clean water, you get rid of cholera, intestinal worms, bilharzia, and the guinea worm. Prevention has been achieved through the health center 3s. There are 1,002 health center 3s in the whole of Uganda. 331 have health center 2s to be upgraded to health center 3s, and money is already found for that purpose. So that means that leaves only 132 sub-counties that are still lacking at least one health center 3. As pointed out above, safe water is part of the preventive medicine. There are now 65,000 boreholes in Uganda. My team will go to audit these boreholes. Are they working? And if not, why? Somebody must account. We are aiming at having at least one safe water source per village: borehole, protected spring, or piped water. A total of 11.3 million Ugandans are now using piped water. Hitherto, we have been putting more emphasis on budgeting on the roads and electricity. You remember, we are not putting yet a lot of money in water because we can't do everything. For us, we believe this year we spent Uganda shillings 4,700 billion on the Ministry of Works and Transport. That is 4.8 trillion. And shillings 2.4 trillion on the Ministry of Energy, Electricity. Yet, on the Ministry of Water, we spent 907 billion for both safe water for drinking and water for production. This must be understood because there is no other way. You cannot do all things at a go. That indiscipline, that confusion must get out of people's heads. When you see somebody, this one and also the other one, you know that one is not a leader. Because I have led in all situations, difficult situations, that's how we manage. The discipline of one by one makes a bundle is indispensable if we are to succeed. Kamwe kamwe nugo muganda, the Banyankole would say. Water for drinking, water for production, water for hygiene, water for industry comes from one main source, rain. Rain itself comes from water. You know, we have got one of our very clever tribes in Africa. One of the cleverest tribes in Africa are the Basoga. The Basoga, you know, with the Bajankore, they have a lot of words. They call rain Njura. Then they have water is amazing. Then amazing also has got different types. Omtunga. Omtunga is the runoff water. Then Omwejemure is the flood water. But the Basoga said, this is all a waste of time. They said all those are Amadi. So you can see how clever they are. The rain is Amadi. The water running on the ground is Amadi. The water itself is Amadi. So why do you waste time? Since it is all water, so we may have to run from the Basoga. Rain itself comes from water. The rain comes from water. Yes, water comes from rain, but rain itself comes from water. Which water? Which water? You listen carefully, please. Water of the lakes, swamps, forests, rivers and oceans. The distant ones such as Indian Ocean and the Pacific. According to our scientist Mafavi, not Nandala. According to our scientist Mafavi, 40% of our rain comes from our local water bodies and wetlands, and 60% comes from the oceans. In ignorance, some of our people have been destroying the wetlands and forests. Hence, the erratic rains like the ones we saw recently. This must be stopped, and it is easy to stop. People in the wetlands and encroaching on the lake shores, riverbanks, etc., should peacefully leave these bodies, and we help them. And we help them with alternative livelihood, especially fish farming, which is even more lucrative than rice growing and growing yams. Besides, the good news is that we can even do agriculture without soil, what I said before, the hydroponics. Apart from interfering with the rain, cutting tree cover also causes violent wind downpours, a hunga, or even a shato. A shato is the, I don't know what they call it, shato, the one which is like a snake, cyclone, as well as landslides. It also causes soil erosion and the silting of water bodies such as lakes. Uganda should not be a country of the uninformed. It should be a country of the enlightened. The other day at Namugongo, I challenged religious leaders to extend what Christianity has been saying since 1877, when they set foot in Uganda. In Runyankwere, they say, edini ekareeta omushana, edini ekabinga omwirima. Christianity brought light, omushana, to Africa and chased darkness, omwirima. Indeed, religion brought light in some aspects. My mother, an uneducated woman, rejected alcohol and the discipline that goes with it, learned how to boil milk instead of drinking it raw, which was the tradition, learned how to knit sweaters, learned how not to share cups and plates, okunywerana, appreciated education, etc. All this was on account of religion. The Christians, the Muslims, and others have all contributed in some of these areas. However, there is still darkness in some of the crucial areas, such as land fragmentation on inheritance. Because these people who are fragmenting land are Christians, are Muslims. They are led by people who go to Rome and come back, who go to Canterbury, who go to Mecca, but don't bring modern, because those areas, especially Europe, they have got a lot of modern ways, like on inheritance, which I was talking about. So why wouldn't you bring that and also integrate it here among our own people? Like the issue of poor, mecham, keken. Poor, mecham, keken. Some of these people don't know our languages. They're just here in Kampala. This is emere yorubuto roka. Subsistence farming. This is ukafiri. How can you be a Christian in the modern way and you don't know that you need to make money? And yet you need education, you need health, you need better clothing, and then you say you are a Christian. But you don't know that you need to modernize. How? Continuing with the subsistence farming, instead of doing commercial farming. When some do commercial farming, they do it without a chivaro, chura, aymar, otita, and attacking the environment contrary to what God had arranged. Let the religious people preach for the preservation of the environment. It is indeed a biblical commandment. In the book of Genesis, God commands man to look after the environment and not to destroy it. When you come to Kisozi, you find the huge preserved Rufunjo, papyrus swamp, with its brown, rusty brown ferric oxide water, ebiroro. If the Christians and the Muslims do not look after the environment well, they will be in darkness, omwirima, worse than that of the traditional worshippers that are wrongly and arrogantly called abakafiri. These bakafiri were aware of God, Ruhanga, Rubanga, Katonda, Kancha, Kibumba, but they were also worshipping the mountains. You know, the traditional people were worshipping the mountains. Kangave, Kampindi, Rubama, Buyego waliwo omusambo gwa Kawumpuli, Magara, Warusi, etc. The rock outcrops the rivers. These people were worshipping these Misamba, these spirits, which they said were living in those areas. Each area had its Musamba. Each area had its ancestral spirit. And these people were worshipping that. Not worshipping it instead of God, but in addition, because they knew God was Kancha, that is Baruri, Kibumba, Katonda, Ruhanga, Rubanga. Those people are not as... So, if the Christians and the Muslims are more enlightened, they are people of light, Omshana, Ekitangara. How can it be that you don't know what these people knew? When I was reading The War in the Royal Triangle, where almost all the people believe in the traditional religion as a supplement to the modern religion. Because for you who have never lived with the people, I really pity you. All those people, especially in some of the areas, they go to the church in the morning, but in the evening, I was able to infuse the sciences. Because you see, what you should be very careful about is arrogance. When you lead people, please, wait towards you be humble. Don't go arrogant, you are the one who knows, you are the one who, please. This is part of the problem. War arrogance. Of course, me, I am somebody, but when I lived among my people, I had to now listen to them carefully. Then they would tell my people, "Chemufumbira omukulu w'olutalo ensujju. Don't cook for the leader of the war pumpkins. Pumpkins. Why? Because they have got a lot of water, and that means tears. So if he eats suju, we are going to lose. We are going to lose. Many people are going to die, and we shall be crying. So these people would come to the camp. Banange tumufumbira Museveni suju. Suju na mazi mangi. So you people, you're just there floating. So then I would listen, oh, that's how you look at it. Then we go slowly. I link with them now. But when the way you come, looking up. When I was reading The War in the Royal Triangle, where almost all the people believe in the traditional religion as a supplement to the modern religion, I was able to infuse the sciences into many of their activities. Medicine, because there's when I found one of my big supporters, he died recently, very influential man in the area, the one whom we thought would be enlightened. The whole leg was swollen, like this. I said, what happened so and so? I don't want to say his name. What happened so and so? Banting a talo. That they can put certain charm where you pass, and when you pass there, the foot will swell. This is the most prominent member of the NRM in the whole sub-county. He was there, not going to hospital. They had put ash. They had put ash around the wound. So I had my doctors. I said, what's this? They said, this is a medical condition. It is well known. It is called cellulitis. I said, what causes it? It's bacteria. Can it be treated? Yes. The man who gave him antibiotic and the man was cured. But you find that because of the disconnection between the educated and these people, they don't know. They just go on with their own thing. Eh? Because you don't get to the people. So when I would go slowly and be with them, and then, what do you call this? This is how you call. But then I bring in now my idea. Like now, I was able to help those people now know that a taro, which they thought was a dogo, was witchcraft, is actually a medical condition which is treatable. I'm sure that was the first time they heard of it in that area. I don't think anybody had ever told them. So the cellulitis is not a dogo, witchcraft, but a bacterial infection, and that there was no herb that could stop bullets. Because also somebody had started telling them that, Lakwena type, that if you hold something, the bullet will not catch you. Somebody had started telling them that. So I had also to deal with that. The only dagara medicine for bullets is taking cover and also trying to neutralize the one who is firing at you. With the patient political work, we can persuade our traditional believers from worshiping to respecting, because now they were worshiping those mountains, worshiping the spirits, but preserving them in the process. Because you can't go to dig somewhere because there is a spirit there. So the effect is that people don't go to destroy the forest. Now, you, the Christians and the Muslims, you have no contribution. You are just there. And the environment is being destroyed. So what I will do is, as usual, to educate my people, say, you don't have to worship, but you can to respect these mountains. Of course, the traditional people do not only worship the hills of Sozi, they worship the ancestral spirits. That worship caused respect for nature. It is therefore wrong for the Christians and Muslims, led by more informed people, to have no respect for nature, God's creation, than our superstitious traditional believers. Kangave Hill, there's a hill called Kangave. Kangave Hill was clothed with thick forest when we were fighting in that area. When I went there recently, it is completely bare, and the numerous rock boulders, amayinja, which I did not know existed beneath the trees, are all now exposed. The encroachers have even gone into the Busemba swamp, into Danze, etc. While I appeal to the leaders, political, religious, cultural, I direct the chief administrative officers, those cows, and the sub-county chiefs to persuade these encroachers to leave the swamps and the forests after they have harvested their current seasonal crop and never to come back. They do not have to use force. If the encroachers do not plan to leave voluntarily, The cows should write to the permanent secretaries of the presidency, prime minister, and head of the civil service for all of us to be involved, because I don't want to use force. I want to persuade these people to move peacefully. Any cow or sub-county chief who does not act will be dismissed and may be charged with relevant criminal offense after the guidance of the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions. Regarding the long-established swamp rice growers of main eastern Uganda, I will visit the area again after my up-country tour. We shall discuss how to, for instance, transition from destructive rice growing to the more lucrative and environment-friendly fish farming at the edges of the swamp. A year ago, and not in the center of the swamp. I cannot end this address without talking about the historic task of ending the market and political fragmentation of Africa, initiated by the myopic indigenous chiefs and later on by the colonialists. Principle number 2 of the NRM is Pan-Africanism. This is not just a slogan or a cliche. It is a matter of survival for the African nations. China has a population and therefore an internal market of 1.3 billion people. Yet, as you can see in the news, they are struggling for access to other markets. Why? China has got 1.3 billion people inside their own country. But as you can see how they are arguing with the Americans about accessing other markets. Why? It is because the more consumers buy from you, the more prosperous you become. The factories produce more, they employ more people, they pay more taxes help the government to build infrastructure, pay better salaries, and provide better social services, education, health, welfare. That is why, right from 1963, some of us have been in the Pan-Africanist movement. The integration of the whole of Africa into an African common market, and those portions of Africa that are similar or compatible into political unions, confederations, leading to political federations. I am happy to inform Ugandans, the zigzag course notwithstanding, Africa and East Africa are now on the right trajectory. Recently, we signed the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. This, of course, is not new. We had signed the Abuja Treaty in 1991 on the same mission. Nevertheless, our Baganda people say, Adinga na maoru, agajamu mukuto. The one who repeatedly eats the cold food will get satisfied eventually. I do not know why the Baganda underrated Obuhoro, the cold food, because me, I like the cold food. I like Obuhoro so much. I never eat the hot food. The Nyankore equivalent is Owafana agenda Amagurutugamugaya. If you keep traveling, looking for something, in the end, the legs will reward you by giving you by you getting what you wanted. Therefore, the search for the integration of Africa is a must. It is good that we are again reigniting the fire of integration. In the case of East Africa, all the countries have now agreed on the concept of confederation as a first step towards the federation. A constitutional drafting committee comprised of delegates from all the member states is now working. It is comprised of the following distinguished East Africans: the Honorable Dr. Justice Benjamin Odoki, Uganda; Professor Mulindwa Rutanga, Uganda; the Honorable Amos Wako, Kenya; Mr. Peter Kiguta, Kenya, Theophile Mbonera, Rwanda, John Nshunguyinka, Rwanda, Professor Alexander Makuriro, Tanzania, Mr. Eid Ramadan Mandi, Tanzania, Dr. Serge Ngendakumana, Burundi. Imana in Kirundi means God. Don't put it in your own confusion. You see, some of the people have got evil thoughts. Imana in Kinyarwanda Kirundi means God. Mr. Salvatore Ntibanzonkinza, Burundi. No, there's a woman, Mrs. Mary James Ajiti, South Sudan. That's a good point. Next time I'll put a woman. Next time, I repent my sins. But Christianity provides for forgiveness. Apoyo Matek. Mr. Albino Polich, South Sudan. They were given 7 months to produce a draft. I was given the pleasant task of championing the cause of the East African Federation and our current chairman, His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda. That is exactly what I'm doing now. I'm now mobilizing you for the Federation. The political, economic integration of Africa is about 3 things. Prosperity through trade in the common market. Strategic security through political integration where possible. And exploiting the fraternity, linguistically, culturally, and the linkages among the 4 nations of Africa. The 4 nations of Africa are the Niger-Congo, the Nilo-Saharan, the Afro-Asiatic, and the Khoisan. The speech I gave to the Constitutional Drafting Committee on the 23rd of April 2019 at Entebbe, plus other relevant documents, should be given to all members of Parliament and sold in bookstores so that the detailed reasoning is known to all East Africans. I wish to end this address by thanking Parliament for enacting the following legislations during the last session. They are all listed here, the ones you enacted. 26 bills, they are all here. The proposed legislative program is also here. Uganda Institute for Diplomacy, International Affairs Bill, Foreign Service Bill, Public Service Pension Fund, the National Records, Income Tax, Value-Added Tax. There are so many. Retirement benefits, all the bills are here. Madam Speaker, it is now my pleasure. Am I the one who opened the session?
No, Your Excellency.
Oh,
you just end your address.
Because here my people had written that I should open the session, but I don't remember that. So since I have done my work, I don't want to go in other people's rubimbi. So I thank you very much and hope that the coming session will be fruitful. Thank you so much. Out of because I am always looking for new people, I want to give 3 copies to the leader of the opposition.
Item 7 on the order paper, adjournment.
Your Excellency, President, on behalf of the Parliament and the country, would like to thank you very much for fulfilling your obligations under Article 101 of the Constitution. The statement will be distributed to the members of Parliament, and they'll have an opportunity to debate it. Of course, we expect the Leader of Opposition to make a formal reply, which will also be debated. Now, as is customary, Your Excellency, we invite you to join us for reception here at the Gardens of Serena Hotel. It has been organized to mark this important occasion of the opening of the 4th session of the 10th Parliament. I also would like to invite the guests to proceed first to the steps to take a group photograph. And in the meantime, I adjourn the House to Thursday, 13 June 2019, when we shall receive the budget speech. However, I want to just advise that henceforth, guests who arrive after the President has arrived at the venue will not have access to the function. So you're advised to read the program, keep time, arrive at your appointed time, not after the head of state has arrived. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Item 8 on the order paper, the national anthem, the East African anthem, and the national anthem.